Actually sort of stepped out of the industry in 93 for a year.
Is it?
Yeah, I actually had decided to quit the print industry. China, for example. Now, the competing printers, they sometimes get together and work as a team to execute large orders and deliver in time and everything to the customer. यहाँ पे क्या है कि that phenomenon has not really happened. It's very important that end of the day, when you go home to sleep, you should have a sense of satisfaction that you have not done anything wrong to anybody.
Right.
Let us, try to practice that. I have seen that printing companies have made more money out of the land they used to own than they've actually made in the business.
Right.
बिजनेस में 20-30 साल में मालूम पड़ेगा 20 करोड़ कमाया और वो एक झटके में वो जमीन को बेच दिया 20 करोड़ में.
करेक्ट.
मारवाड़ी हूँ भाई, पैसा चाहिए. Printing industry is not even recognized as an industry by the government of India.
True.
So that itself shows the importance even the government is giving it.
You've been in the industry, very strong player, veteran, part of many organizations. About training, what is the thing that the industry is doing in terms of getting people trained?
Almost nothing.
Today, we have Tushar Bhotica of Sri Arun Packaging, popularly known as Sapco. Sapco is a 53-year young organization. Tushar is a second-generation businessman. Did you know he did not want to be a part of the print industry? In fact, he joined Kishore Biyani of the Future Group to be a part of his business. But destiny had something else in store. He joined the printing industry again, probably that is where he was destined to be, to grow Sapco into what it is today. Having spoken to Tushar, I felt a sense of calm and balance in him. Probably this is because of his religious nature. Tushar told me that he wanted to pursue ethics over profits and scale. He also had a very interesting take on collaboration. He gave a very nice example of the Chinese, how they've been able to collaborate and grow their business. If you want to listen to all this and more, let's go ahead and watch the episode. Hi Tushar, welcome to Ink Stories.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to meet you. I've got to know about you from Dr. Ravi Kedi, our earlier guest, and he had so many good words to speak about you, and I really wanted to meet you. We've been having almost an hour-long conversation before we started this, and it's nice to know about your insights. You've been a veteran in this industry.
37 long years so far.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. So we are here to hear about your story, your Sri Arun Packaging story. So let's start this conversation. Are you all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So can you just give us a brief background about Sri Arun Packaging, about where the origins of this organization, and where, as we talk today, where does it stand?
Okay, so we are now 53 plus years young.
Wow.
Company started on Vasant Panchami day of 1970 by my father, late Narayan Prasad Bhotica.
Okay.
And I'm the second generation along with my elder brother Hemant.
Okay.
And Hemant's been in the business since 1980. I've been in the business since 86.
Okay.
And my son joined us in 2012 after his return from a German printing degree.
Nice.
So he's now spearheading all the current marketing initiatives and so many more things for the last almost 10 years.
Very nice.
It's a 100% family-owned business run by the three of us currently.
Okay.
Like I explained, we've been the first 25 years or so. We were right here in Lower Parel, just behind where we are sitting now.
Okay.
Factory was right here. 97, we made our first move to a bigger location in Navi Mumbai, MIDC Mahape.
Okay.
There we ran the company again for around 25 odd years.
Okay.
And then we made the move from there to a place close to Kalyan on the Nasik highway, where we've been now for close to 2 years.
Okay.
So currently our head office is here where we sit at Lower Parel.
Okay.
Where the management and marketing, pre-press and admin and certain other functions are performed here.
Okay.
And the entire production is at the factory at Navi Mumbai, where we are totally focused on carton packaging. We can do everything and anything under one roof. We are absolutely focused on quality and quality and quality only.
Okay.
We don't use anything inferior, nor do we try to give anything inferior to our clients. And yes, quality is the motto.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So, I mean, in terms of the way you would differentiate Sri Arun Packaging with the other competition in the market, so any specific area that you would want to highlight on?
There are 4 things actually which we tell our clients is personalized service, excellent quality, on time deliveries, and total commitment to whatever we commit.
That's nice.
So that's ideally what we would like to practice, and we do practice that.
That's nice. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, your second generation and now Vishwam is in the third generation.
Yeah.
So, the choice to be in the print industry, I mean, how did that come? Did it ever occur to you that, nahi, printing nahi, kuch aur karte hain? So, what are your views about that? And about your journey about being in the print industry?
So, honestly, I mean, in the 80s, family businesses used to be the only choice for most young children. And being what it was, obviously I was also having very little choice, although I might have liked to do so many other things. So आ गए प्रिंटिंग इंडस्ट्री में, बैठ गया, बाप ने बैठा दिया, बैठ गए, काम कर रहे हैं. And yes, I mean, in a 37-year journey, there have been many ups and downs. I actually sort of stepped out of the industry in 93 for a year.
Is it?
Yeah, I actually had decided to quit the print industry.
Oh, why was that?
Just life takes you on its own trips. And when I did decide to step out, I did not know where my future was going to lie. And then an opportunity came with me for a good family friend of ours, Kishore Biyani, the Future Group. We all know what has happened to him now, but yes, that time he was a rising star.
Yes.
I joined him for a year.
Is it?
6 months down the line, I realized that's not my cup of tea.
Any specific business line or?
So he was garments, of course. Okay. So he had just launched his jeans brand called Bear. So Bear jeans he had launched.
Which year are you talking about?
I'm talking of 93. To be precise, 1st of June is when I joined him.
Probably that was the time before he became the star that he
had already became. So yes, all the big, he had not became the king of retail.
The king of retail. The book was not out.
The book came out of
much
course,
later,
much
2000.
Later. But yes, his journey had started. And I have seen the man very close, but anyway, that's another story. And then 6 months into it, I realized that this is not my cup of tea to stand outside retail stores and beg for money. So I said it's better to, focus with my knowledge, whatever little knowledge I have, and grow the packaging business. So we were always a packaging company. Sri Arun Packaging Corporation, as we were called then, was packaging focused since its birth.
So, but those times, I did a little bit of research. We didn't see a lot of packaging names. Any specific reason that you picked the packaging name?
I wouldn't know, but I guess it was my father's foresight. Because that's been the name of the company.
You also mentioned earlier in our conversation that those days packaging was not a very in thing.
Not at all. So, packaging in India has blossomed more after liberalization in the 90s.
Yes.
When I joined the business in 86, commercial printing was the in thing, And some of the leading printers of Bombay were into commercial printing, and they were big names.
True.
Having multicolor four color machines and new four color machines that just about started coming into the country. Before 86, there were, I think, besides Tata Press, erstwhile Tata Press, nobody had four color machines. So post liberalization, as we all know, whole markets and everything started changing, and I've seen it changing.
Yeah, nice. So, you've got this, phenomenal 37 years in the industry. So, what do you, give us some insights about what do you think about the industry? अच्छा है, बुरा है, बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत खराब है. What are your views?
I think like everything in life, everything has its ups and downs. Everything has its plus and minuses. So does this industry. As far as I'm concerned, born and brought up in the industry, more or less.
Right.
If I say, I can say I was practically born in this industry, although there was an earlier thing that my dad was doing. So अच्छा तो बहुत चीज़ है, बुरा भी बहुत चीज़ है. Currently, if I talk about this industry, particularly packaging,
Yeah.
I keep telling our people, and particularly our family, my brother, my son, is let us do everything that we want to do with a sense of ethics.
Uh-huh.
It's very important that end of the day, when you go home to sleep, you should have a sense of satisfaction that you have not done anything wrong to anybody.
Right.
Let us try to practice that. And to my belief, I don't think I have ever tried to intentionally be unethical in anything I do.
I can totally relate to that. In terms of the conscience, is something which is very critical in terms of your daily life. If that's not clean, it becomes all the more difficult.
Absolutely. I mean, making money and being in competition is just part of any industry.
Yeah.
But let us not rub somebody, whether it's your competitor, whether it's your employee, or whether it's anybody whom you come across in your
True.
day-to-day business or personal life.
Right.
Let us keep some degree of sanity in the dealings.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't agree more on that. I still want to probe a little further on this aspect in terms of the print industry. Like we were having a conversation earlier, where print industry is not like there are over 10 lakh printers, big and small, put together across the country. So approximately the industry should not be less than 10 lakh crores, mota moti. Roughly, if you just put 1 crore average to each company, it should be around that number.
Yeah, but I think the 10 lakh printers is definitely on the higher side. So I'm also part of few associations, and I have never heard that kind of figures. More like 250,000
Okay.
printers across India.
Okay.
So that's almost 1/4.
1/4.
Yeah. So
ठीक है, even if we talk about two, I mean, I would rely on your numbers, which would be much more correct than someone else's.
even
would
that
have
is
given
an
me that
estimate.
number. Estimate.
Even that is
ठीक
an
है.
estimate.
Even if you're talking about 2.5 lakh printers, it's a pretty sizable industry. But the top is probably there are just few printers who have been able to scale their businesses over 500,000 crores. And what could be the reasons that the companies have not been able to scale to that level?
So of course, even the 500,000 crore levels have come only in the last decade or so. Earlier, even 100 crores used to be, something, an aspirational kind of figure. This industry, I'm talking only of the offset printing and packaging industry, is a very, very personality driven industry. When in packaging, for example, our customers, end of the day, they want to talk to the owner. चाहे कितना भी बड़ा आदमी हो, चाहे कितना भी छोटा आदमी हो. Particularly when you're approaching new clients, for example.
अच्छा.
Now, new clients, you may have an excellent marketing person approaching him, talking him, giving him whatever he wants. But the satisfaction comes talking to the boss. Even though the boss may not be knowing anything. लेकिन क्योंकि वो मालिक है, तो he has that assurance कि yes, because this is a service-oriented industry. We don't have any product of our own to sell. We are ultimately converters of paper, putting ink on paper based on the design of the customer, whether it's commercial, whether it's packaging, shaping boxes as they want it. There is very little R&D, very little innovation there. So, to have that kind of personal involvement, and most of the print shops are run like mom and pop shops even now. So to grow the company beyond where you cannot possibly have a personal attention on a day-to-day basis after a particular scale, it's very difficult. For that, then you need to have corporate structures.
True.
The bigger ones have obviously done it. So it's not that it's impossible.
Yeah.
But रिलायंस भी एक ही होता है, वडानी भी एक ही होता है, बाकी तो सब छोटे ही होते हैं. तो वही कहानी.
So what would be your advice to these small printers कि in terms of आप लोग ये कर सकते हो कि to set your house straight, to make it a much more professionally run organization, to see eventually the industry has to consolidate. It cannot be like spread thin. वो तो आज नहीं तो कल होना ही है. But then rather than being wiped out, I transform myself. I be a part of that change, because if I'm going to have my next generation come in and I want to make my business attractive for the next generation, I have to transform. And for that transformation, what would be your advice for some of these guys?
So, before I come to that, I would like to, from whatever I've heard, China, for example. Now, the competing printers, they sometimes get together and work as a team to execute large orders and deliver in time and everything to the customer. यहाँ पे क्या है कि that phenomenon has not really happened. I may be having my closest friend just next door, but I would rarely approach him to, if I'm, in need or in trouble or something. Now, to get to scale level and to sort of get out of the day-to-day business, you need to have a structure. You need to, sort of assign responsibilities, which does not happen easily in our industry, because sometimes I feel our industry is unable to attract talent.
Why is it?
I think the primary reason is that...
Are we not paying enough?
Yeah, exactly. We are not paying enough. We cannot pay enough, is I would say, because the kind of margins which are there. Our customer asks us for each and every paper ka kitna
people are
cost.
buying 20 crore machines and all kinds of expensive machines, but if we can't invest in people, how are we going to run those machines?
That's a very good question, but that is actually what is happening. Now, while people are investing in 20 crore and more machines, they are only the really big corporatized guys having, deep pockets. Aaj ke din bhi, I would think that more than 75% of the investment in capex that is happening in India is all second-hand machines. You have a 20 crore machine on one hand, you will actually have a 30-year-old 2 crore machine on the other hand, also churning out similar stuff at a lower quality, lower productivity level. लेकिन पगार तो प्रिंटर को वहाँ भी 30-40 हज़ार देगा, वहाँ पे शायद 50-60 हज़ार देगा, in remote locations even more. So that happens, but we are unable to see the margins being what they are. We are unable to sort of pay our people. If you ask me, I would be happier paying my people 25% more if my margins and would allow it, because when I'm able to pay 25% more, I am sure there will be much more responsible people performing not just at 25% higher levels of efficiency, but probably double the efficiencies. But maybe I'm scared that अगर इसका 25% मेरा पगार बढ़ा दिया कल को नहीं हुआ, so where do I go?
Probably fear is also equally responsible than the money being
Absolutely. And capex is क्या है? See, capex, particularly again in the last decade or so, where bank loans have become so easy and so cheap, people do end up doing the capex.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, they realize they're not making enough money to even pay back the loans. And then you have so many stories of companies falling in trouble and selling out or shutting down or leaving their creditors in the lurch and all that.
Right. Yeah. But in terms of, there are these many stories where, people move out their money from the business and probably invest it into something else. And till all this time in the last 15-20 years was real estate, the hottest investment destination. Thoda paisa bana liya, jaake real estate kharid liya. And that's dead money because that's not generating returns. So which is one of the reasons that people have not been able to use the money effectively and efficiently for the success of their business. What do you think on that?
See, that phenomenon may have been true till maybe 10 or 15 years back, where people, particularly in lower parel, agar aap Shahinar वगैरह की बात करो, people used to start off with maybe bhade ka gala, then buy one and buy another, etc., where the returns were much higher. They could actually make money and invest in property, because property, I would not agree with you totally कि it's a dead investment.
I'm not saying it's a dead investment. I meant कि that is not generating revenue. वो जो अपने rate पे बढ़ेगा. But if you are having that money in the business, that money will make probably 5%, 6% every month.
So property में पहले भी जो investment होता था, it was not कि he's bought the property and he's just left it. That was used to grow the business, right? एक गाला से दो से चार से more. If you go to Shahinar and all, you'll find many stories of those kinds. So they've grown the business.
True.
property is part of growing the business, because in India very few people believe in bhade pe leke karna. They believe in buying
it
out
out.
the property and then doing it. So that phenomenon used to happen. Now, sorry, I lost my chain of thought. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. But see, basically, there are these smart guys who have invested the money into the business, and then there are some whom I know of who have moved out the money and bought real estate which is not relevant to the business. I meant the population of those kinds who have diverted funds. I was meeting someone at the exhibition yesterday. He had taken a lot of money, he had mortgaged his property, he had given it to a client, and they were mentioning that the guy had bought a lot of property which was outside the business and he went bankrupt one day.
So that's probably one way of sort of hedging your investments, where one does not feel totally secure with the business he is in.
Yeah.
So you would like to ensure that if something goes wrong, mere paas ek property to khadi hai, which is probably the safest investment in India.
That could be it. I mean, in terms of, I think the takeaway should be in terms of be wise in your investments. Do not.
In my observations of the last so many decades, not just the 37 years I've been and even longer, I have seen that printing companies have made more money out of the land they used to own than they've actually made in the business.
Right.
Business में 20-30 साल में मालूम पड़ेगा 20 करोड़ कमाया, और वो एक झटके में वो जमीन को बेच दिया 20 करोड़ में.
Correct.
So that's also, and most people know that, so that's also where your question about why people invest in land comes from.
True.
Because ultimately property has got very little risk.
Yeah.
And it grows.
Yeah.
In India, on an average, property values do grow 5-10%.
Yes.
So that's the reason probably.
Yeah, probably that could be the reason. I mean, I would probably put it in a way that let people take the same judgment for their business, so that
I don't think that's true any longer,
because properties won't probably appreciate the same way that it did in the past.
Pehle kya tha, there used to be pockets where now the way infra is growing, the way the road network, everything is growing, everything is much more reachable. कि एक ही एरिया का प्रॉपर्टी वैल्यूज इतना नहीं बढ़ता है. इफ यू सी इन द लास्ट 10 odd years, South Bombay particularly, property values have stopped going up except for few exceptional properties.
Pockets.
It doesn't happen. I've actually seen property values falling down also. So that phenomenon, at least in urban metros like Bombay, has stopped happening. But yes, if you go to the outskirts, like for example where a factory was in New Bombay, the values are still going up every year. Maybe just by 5%, but they are still climbing. But it's not that it will grow out of the box as it used to earlier.
Yeah. True. I mean, on this note, just moving a little ahead in terms of on organizations and their growth, in terms of training, employees. I'm not really aware. You've been in the industry, very strong player, veteran, part of many organizations. About training, what is the thing that the industry is doing in terms of getting people trained?
Almost nothing, which is very sad. Now, I'm a part of BMPA, Bombay Master Printers Association. We have taken few initiatives as an association. Seekor, Samjo is an initiative which we do where we actually train people, etc. But there's no real organized regular form of training that is available by almost any company, whether it be a printing company itself or whether it be our capital equipment suppliers. There are a few, like Bobst, I know, has regular courses in Pune, and their Pune plant for die cutting and folder gluers, etc. There's not a single printing company which is doing that now. Heidelberg used to do it till around 10-15 years ago in Chennai, where they had a print academy, which shut down.
But with so many printers, I mean, even if you go with the count of 2.5 lakh printers across, I mean, there has to be so much of labor, and with the kind of growth that we're talking about in India, that we have to be like the rate that we're growing, we should be around second, third largest economy. So ये सब growth cater करने के लिए there have to be people. अगर employees ही नहीं होंगे तो how are we going to manage?
So the printing industry is not even recognized as an industry by the government of India.
True.
So that itself shows the importance even the government is giving it. A few years back, I remember reading that in the USA, the printing industry is the second or the third largest employer as an industry. And I do believe in India also it must be
Should
in
be the same.
Yeah, if not the same, because you have the railways and so many other government these things. But I'm sure we are easily in the top 10 with the number. I mean, 2.5 lakh companies.
Into average 10 भी ऐड कर लो तो 25
10
लाख
क्या
हो गया.
50 तो करो कम से कम. 10 में क्या होता है? 10 तो आजकल ऑफिस स्टाफ हो जाता है. खुद की
actually-
दुकान भी कोई चलाता है तो भी 10 जन हो जाते हैं.
मैं लोअर लिमिट बोला.
Yeah, so it's so.
Then you are talking
The
about
training
around 2.5.
the training part has either to come from schools or some government initiative or from associations, and we as association, even though all India is now trying to do something, they're trying to put up a school and all that. And then of course within companies itself, like we as a company, we do try to call engineers or teachers etc. for the various equipment that we have from the company itself every 6 months or so, just to upgrade skills. But वो कितना भी करो, that cannot really take the place of a formal education.
True. And
So for example, in our post-press die cutting folder gluers, we have 2 people who are actually trained by us in BOPS for the job.
okay.
And there are many others also who are having a similar or lower level of skills. But ultimately, for the levels of investment which are there in the equipment, it's very sad that
It
we
doesn't
don't-
match with
Not at
the
all.
manpower
Not at
quality
And
or the manpower flow that will happen over the next couple of years, because we hear this as a point of concern from many of our guests in the past who mentioned that training has been a matter of great concern. I mean, probably we can use this platform to tell you, being a senior member in BMPA, to consider and think of ways how
so
we
the
could.
BMPA is of course working on it, thinking about it, along with the All India Federations. We have a All India Federation. We are thinking of it, working on it, but all these things takes time and
yeah.
of course a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure that will, but hopefully things will fall in place and things will get better. So I think the next important thing gets to you got Vishwam into the business. I mean, he's a young smart guy. I've met him, I've interacted with him a couple of times online though. He would have had a choice of any industry. He probably had the capital support from you. He could have gone to the tech industry. How did you attract him? Bhai, you have to
So
come.
that
What
was
the story
a
around
tough that was a tough task, because my elder brother Sunny did not join us. He's from IIT Boy. He did not join us. And when Vishwam was completing his graduation, I just told him, you have 2 choices now. That first of all, I will not accept anything which is a plain and simple graduate degree. Whatever you want to do in life, you need a professional education. I tell my people कि आज के दिन वॉचमैन भी बनना है, उसको भी सिक्योरिटी गार्ड का ट्रेनिंग बनना पड़ता है.
Correct.
झाड़ू मारने के लिए भी ट्रेनिंग चाहिए.
Correct.
So whatever you want to do in life, get yourself professionally qualified for that. So you know what you are doing.
Right.
So he did choose that, yes, I will join the business. We sent him to Germany, Hockler Studio. And believe you me that अब तो खैर बहुत साल हो गए उसको 11 साल, but coming into any family business, your colleagues and employees always कि ये तो भाई सेठ का बेटा है. I can humbly and honestly tell you that my own employees and senior level people कि साहब, your son is cut out for the business. He knows his job.
That's nice.
So that was so heartening to hear that he's not there because he's my son. Of
Right.
course, he's there because he's my son.
Right.
But he's not there only because of that.
That's nice. But was there any conversation that he wanted not to be a part?
Yeah.
Anything that you did differently to?
No, honestly, when that call came, when he was getting to graduate, you know what he told me? I want to. So he's a very good guitar player, and they had a school band.
Yeah.
So
I think he still performs.
Yeah, he does sometimes. I mean, of course, now it's taken a back seat. In fact, he's just going for his this thing now. So he told me, I want to start an English band. I tell him, go to hell, man. That is something which I'm not going to let you do. That English band in India, I mean, it didn't really have future. Even 12 years down the line, how many English bands you hear of who are successful?
Correct.
मारवाड़ी हूँ भाई, पैसा चाहिए.
So you were like feet down, and was you have to be a part
Yeah,
of the
sort of. I mean, I didn't really have to put my foot down as such. I just spoke to him, convinced him, did a bit of hard talking.
It's a good, nice business, and I'm sure it would have been fun for him also, the entire journey.
Yeah,
in
and
terms of-
honestly, I can tell you, without him, we would not have been where we are today.
yeah, in terms of being there for 12 years and coming up with his ideas, and especially with all this tech thing happening,
Oh
and
yeah,
being part
you're
of.
right. And these young guys, they're so aggressive. Sometimes it becomes difficult for me. Yeah.
So, what has been some of your challenges in running this business in terms of there have been some learning, some specific incidences which you want to share कि श्री अरुण पैकेजिंग के साथ भी ये सब हुआ है, people can relate कि यार failures हमारे
देखिए, failures are the pillars of success, as my dad always used to say. So there have been many failures. In the past, we were, very few client focused. We had a tough time breaking into the pharma industry, and that came like a godsend from heaven, where literally the pharma business landed in my lap out of nowhere, and that's how we got an entry into pharma. And so many more things. I mean, it becomes a little difficult to sort of put a finger. But yes, there have been umpteen challenges.
Anything that you remember in terms of a challenge?
Of course, one of the most challenging things in the last decade was a fire we had in our factory.
Oh, you did have one?
Yeah, we had a reasonably small or big fire, as you may call it. That was definitely a challenging time. And there have been so many. I mean, it's really difficult to... Even now when we moved to Kalyan, oh my God, really a harrowing experience the beginning. Handling the locals there was very difficult to really point out something more.
Sometimes you feel like, just leave it and just relax and just
Every
let go
day,
things.
every day. Especially in the last few years, I think I'm getting old now. I'm almost 57.
Okay.
So...
Great. I mean, it's a nice conversation knowing knowing about your journey, about 37 years, you getting your third generation into the printing business. That's quite an interesting thing, and I'm sure people would love to listen to Sri Arun Packaging story. I've always known this company as Sri Arun Packaging. Now
They're also known as Sapco, by the way.
Now I was coming to that. You're now rebranded as Sapco.
No, we've always been known as Sapco also.
Achha.
Because it's always been an acronym.
अच्छा, but अभी बहुत prominently वो
Abhi
दिखता
we
है.
are trying to push it more because I mean, it's the thought of the new generation, if you ask me. And otherwise, even some of our oldest clients who are still with us, I mean, we have clients now for 50 years plus.
Okay.
And they still call us Sapco.
Yeah. Okay. So the name has stayed.
The
Just
name
that
has
you kind of now taken cognizance of it and trying to make it more evident.
Yeah, you can say so.
So, I have this limit that I have to try to cut the conversation within 30 minutes. So, I'm not taking much of your time. Just moving towards the last part.
Sure.
Where in terms of, we wanted to, meet you and know about your journey, about, being a part of the print industry and how it has been. So, you have anyone in mind that you could think of who could have an interesting story for people to listen to and probably get inspired with?
In the printing industry.
Yeah, printing industry could be a printer, could be even a supplier, could be a post press guy, could be a machine guy. Anyone who has an interesting story to share.
So, and you want to know about somebody who's been in the industry many years?
Not necessarily. It could be like a startup. He could be, anyone who could give a fresh perspective.
It's difficult. I mean, of the people I know, obviously there are some of the really stalwarts and leaders of the industry. One of them is, of course, my uncle Ramesh Kejriwal, whom I started my career with. He will have million things more to say than I am here. I mean, I can probably tell you one thing, that whatever I learnt in this industry initially, at least for the first 7 years I worked with him, is all because of his hand on my head. So that was, of course, a great 7 years I had.
Getting an opportunity to work with Mr. Ramesh Kejriwal in the early stages of your life, and the way he could take his organization to the level that it is today.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it would have been a lovely experience.
Yeah. That is someone, that kind of personality is what you're looking for.
Yeah, we would love to have him. We probably written to his office and waiting for a reply.
Yeah, great. Uske alawa, I don't know, then there's another gent whom I can think of who's not exactly from the print industry mold, and he's Mehul Desai.
Okay.
Mail order solutions.
Mail order solutions, yeah.
So he has, got a varied background from Xerox and so many more things. Very strong personality. Of course, him also now, his son is leading the business and Mehul has taken more or less a backseat. But yes, I think that conversation could be very interesting for you.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Mehul. I've not interacted a lot with him. I've seen him in the BMPA events.
Yeah.
Would love to connect with him. So, I mean, you've had a very long innings of almost 37 years, and it's the third generation in the business. So, what would you say is Sapco's or Sri Arun Packaging's legacy, or you would want people to remember this company as?
First of all, I would like the legacy to remain in perpetuity, and I do hope that my son Vishwam and my youngest son, I don't know what's his plan, but they are able to carry on with the legacy. And yes, it should be remembered for a company which had values, like I said about the ethics part, which has
True.
values with their suppliers, with their clients, with their employees, with their colleagues. I think that is what I would like it to be remembered, rather than somebody who was a company which made it big or was path breaking and all. Personally, if you ask me, I will be happier that if I was known as a good, value based, quality oriented company.
Having the conversation that I've had with you, even pre we started and post that, I've had a very strong feeling that you're a very spiritual guy and you've got this very philosophical bent towards life. Yeah.
Yeah, I am an extremely philosophical bolo, religious bolo, God fearing bolo, somebody who has very deep faith in the Supreme.
Okay.
And that's probably because of the way my father was, and probably what we saw in the family, whenever he was around, etc. So yes, my belief stems from that.
Great. I'm sure it has helped you along the way, and it will help all your family members, and may you all guys do great. The last question is more for us to get a feedback. So what do you think about this format that we have as a podcast in terms of talking to people? I mean, any advice for us? Does it make sense?
So, honestly, I don't know how many you people have done. 10
We've
or 12
done
so far?
15.
15. And I have looked at 3. I mean, Prakash Kansar, Ravi, and one more which I am not. So, probably you need to reach out more through other means, maybe through the BMPA, because...
we would love to, I mean.
Yeah, because I don't think many people are aware of this, honestly.
Yes.
I don't know.
People, I mean, actually, with all due respect, there are not many who really check their YouTube that so frequently.
Well, I don't know about checking the YouTube, but like I look at YouTube quite a bit, particularly for my music.
Yeah.
But I never knew about it till Ravi told me. Ravi Kedia told me, and that's how I came to know about it. And even after that, I've not really been looking at it.
Yeah.
Because क्या होता है ना, एक आपके email पे या phone पे कोई link आ जाए, तो you click it, and you look at it in your leisure time or whatever. So you need to sort of promote it more through various
organizations,
channels. I don't know. I can speak to the BMPA and see if we can promote it.
Yeah, it would be nice if you can help us, spread the word. The whole idea is in terms of getting stories of people of various, sizes, formats. It's not necessarily he has to be a Mr. Kejriwal of that scale. I mean, it would be lovely to listen to him, but even someone who's much smaller, but he has a story. He has, he's had a journey, and he can be an inspiration to so many. And that's the whole idea in terms of how can we get people to talk, get their stories and connect people. I think stories are what connects people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So on that note, it was wonderful speaking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been really an honor for me to talk to you. And I hope I have satisfied your hunger for whatever you needed to know from me.
It has been nice, and we leave it to our viewers to see how they love the episode and they share their views on it.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.